Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is having an awesome event. My name is Brett. I'm the grant program manager here. And today I'll do a little overview of the grant program, but the main portion of this is going to be a conversation with some of our awesome grant recipients. So the grant program in a nutshell is we deploy resources, right? We want to support the technology as well as the developer community we have. So we look to support the tech, the tools, the infrastructure, improving and expanding the Chainlink network, along with education for our developer community and ongoing resources to help developers along the developer journey, right? So today we have a few panelists that represent the different ways the grant program supports the growth and the development of the Chainlink community. It's also really interesting because we have teams at different stages of working with us. We have, one team that's received multiple grants. We have a team that's been a long-time active and supportive member of our community, longer than I've been here, and one team that's recently received a grant, and we're kind of welcoming into the family, so to speak. So with that being said, I will introduce the panelists as a brief overview. We have Margaret and Maury from Protofire, a team that's been working with us through our integration grants. We have Roger from Link River, who's researching and publishing solutions to critical to the node operator community, and Tracy from the Dot, who's essentially building an open source portal sharing all the important resources available to the broader Chainlink community. So with that being said, I'd love to have each panelist kind of introduce themselves and their organizations, and we can go from there. So Margaret and Felipe from Protofire, if you'd like to kick us off, that would be great.
Yeah, happy to start. Thank you, Brett, for that introduction. So my name is Margaret. I'm an operations lead at Protofire, and we are very thankful to the Chainlink team for having this great opportunity to talk more about us and especially about work that we are doing around the Chainlink ecosystem. So a few highlights about us. So we are a team of more than 40 engineers, and since 2016, we've been contributing to some great projects in the blockchain space, including, of course, Chainlink, Gnosis, Kyber Network, Synthetics, MakerDAO, Uniswap, Alpine, Aragon, and a few more, which we can't disclose, unfortunately. We are continuously improving Protofire to be a machine that attracts, builds, and retains engineering teams for protocols and DAOs. And the way we function is that the team picks a DAO or project to work on. Then we start with the first small engagement, and then we move on to building a dedicated team. And I would say that our goal and unique specialty is to help layer 1, layer 2, cross-chain and Oracle networks, and some selected DeFi protocols to bootstrap demand side, to accelerate developer adoption. And with that in mind, we ship dApps, protocol modules, develop smart contracts, work also on developer tooling and integrations. And besides, what I would like to share is, as part of our hosting services, we are also running the second biggest indexer node in the Graph network as far as the amount of delegations, with a total value of GRT staked at around $11 million. And we have also developed more than 30 open source subgraphs for Ethereum projects. We are also participating as relayers and validators on XDAI, Avalanche, Meter, and helping projects to further decentralize their infrastructures. And we're also providing the main RPC endpoint for the Filecoin network, which is one of the core network endpoints. So this is a little bit about us. And yeah, thank you, Brett. Hope this gives a good idea about who we are, what we do.
Very good overview. It sounds like you are involved in a lot of exciting things.
Yeah, trying to be.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. All right, cool. So Roger, you wanna go next?
Sure. Hey everybody, I'm Roger, co-founder of Link River. We are a community-driven Chainlink node service provider, meaning that we are operating Chainlink nodes on various blockchains, sidechains, and layer 2 solutions testnets and mainnets. We are, besides this, participating in the decentralized price feeds and heavily focusing on research and documentation all around Chainlink node operations and related services. And Rob and I, Rob's the other co-founder, recently joined the Developer Expert Program launched by Chainlink Labs, which focuses on supporting the Chainlink developer community. So we want to educate as many people as possible about decentralized Oracle networks, hybrid smart contracts, external adapters, and everything related to it. And so, yeah, that's a brief overview of Linkroller, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having us. And yeah, we were recently awarded a Chainlink Community Grant, which we're really, really happy, grateful, and honored about. And so, yeah, happy to join the conversation here with you guys.
Awesome. It's great to have you, Roger, and great to see you again. All right. And last but not least, Tracy, you want to give an overview of this talk?
Sure. Hi, my name is Tracy. I am the CEO of a company called This.Labs. We are a consultancy of about 50 developers. We're 100% remote worldwide, but a lot of us are based in the US. I myself am a RxJS core team member and a Google developer expert, as well as a Microsoft MVP. Same with my co-founder, who was previously at Google on the Angular core team. So, just kind of best in breed consultancy. And we're so excited to get this grant and be working with Chainlink on some really exciting things. We work with some amazing other folks, and we're kind of dipping our toes in and starting to spread the education about the amazing ecosystem. So I love seeing, I was part of when the JavaScript ecosystem was developing, and I love seeing this ecosystem starting to develop and be a part of that. So we get to work with some amazing customers like Twilio, Google, Roblox, Wikimedia, T-Mobile, Cloudinary, PlayStation, et cetera, et cetera. And this is just going to be a really fun project, and our entire team is really excited about it.
Awesome. Awesome. So I think that was, everyone did great introductions, and I think maybe we'd like to dive into some of the Chainlink specific work as it relates to some of the grants we've handed out. So I guess we can start with Margaret and Maury from Protofire, maybe talk a little bit about the projects and working with Chainlink.
Yeah, so what we've done, basically, we've focused most of our work in actually making integrations into other blockchains. So the first integration that we did for the Chainlink stack into other blockchains was the XDAI integration. We actually helped set up price feeds on there, and from there we started going into other blockchains. So we helped the Avalanche integration. We helped with Blossom and with Celo. Those were the first ones, and we are expecting to get a lot more. Also, we actually worked on helping developer tooling. There's the testnet link faucet that we worked on a very short notice. But we are really happy with the way it turned out. It's basically a faucet that provides link tokens to developers all over the ecosystem. We support over 6 different testnets from different providers. So on Fuji, on POA networks, on Coven, and the idea is to help developers all over the ecosystem, wherever they might be, whatever the technology they might prefer, be able to use Chainlink, the Chainlink infrastructure to power their applications.
Awesome.
That's most of what we did, and we have received a couple of grants recently, mostly related to scalability. So scaling Chainlink outside of Ethereum 1. So doing some QA on integrations on other EVM networks, helping Chainlink expand to other networks themselves, which are not really EVM compliant, like, for example, Polkadot based, or maybe Solana one day. And yeah, helping with bridges and analyzing stuff. There's a lot of things to do. We are excited for the future.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, and this is something that I bring up in conversations with potential grant recipients or new grant recipients. I think there's a couple points there, but one I think is we really want to get to know the people, right, that we're working with. And I think the goal of a lot of these grants and a lot of the projects is to get comfortable to the point where there could be another grant or another project, right? So it's not necessarily that we want these to just be, you know, we're issuing a grant and you fix this and then it's see you in a year or two. It's, I think what Protofire really proved over time is that, you know, if once you're in our community and you're working with us and you're doing a really good job, then we want to work more with you, right? I think that's interesting from a different perspective with Roger and Link River. You guys are super active in our community. You know, when you send in an application for a grant, everyone knew who you were, and they were super excited to see that you were proposing new stuff to work on and work with us on. So I think that's a good segue to Roger, if you want to talk a little bit more about your project, but then
Sure.
also, you know, how we got there, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. First, to catch up on Protofire, I want to send out a shout out because your work has been really beneficial for us as node operators as well. The token faucets, the new integrations on several networks. Yeah, we're really grateful for the work and we really value it a lot. So keep it up. And yeah, now to us, to our project, it's called nodelogs.link. And maybe first how we got there. So yeah, as I already said, we're constantly researching the newest advances about node operations, and we've been busy spinning up our testnet nodes and various Chainlink nodes. We ran into all possible warn and error logs, and sometimes you feel a bit left alone. So in general, we thought about, okay, we should launch a website or provide some additional documentation besides the official Chainlink docs, which are awesome, because they are spinning up Chainlink nodes is really limitless. You can always improve your setup. There are several setups and deployments for different use cases. And we thought about, okay, let's launch a website with different guides for different node setups, which was a pretty big scope. And then we started conversations with you. And we had some really nice chats with you and other team members. And somehow we ended up saying, wouldn't it be great to focus on the essentials and to initially launch a website which focuses on displaying and categorizing all relevant or the most relevant and frequently occurring logs the Chainlink node produces. And now we're talking about warn and error logs because that's mostly what you're interested in when you're trying to troubleshoot and debug. And so, yeah, we came up with the idea to launch nodelogs.link, and it will focus on displaying, categorizing, and explaining the origins of the node logs that are produced. And yeah, it will also provide debugging solutions so that the whole troubleshooting process for aspiring and established node operators can be facilitated, and we will, of course, constantly update it. And this will be the initial first version of the website. And what you mentioned earlier, Brett, the great thing is that it's not that we're building one product and then we're gone. We're not working as a freelancer for the Chainlink ecosystem, but we are aiming at staying a long-term member of this ecosystem and enjoying those virtual cycles. We're already seeing here with Protofire launching critical infrastructure for node operators, for Chainlink services in general. And they've been receiving several grants. Yeah, we hope to do the same and build up a long-term relationship with the Chainlink ecosystem we're anyway really closely in contact with. And so it's been a great process. We're really grateful and we're enjoying every conversation. It's always really inspiring and great to work with like-minded and open-minded people.
Awesome. And it's great to hear that you guys are doing the new kind of developer expert program. I'm excited to see kind of all the different developer relations and education stuff that we can kind of grow out over the course of the next year. I think your application journey was pretty interesting in that the final project wasn't necessarily what the application was. And I think it was a very collaborative and iterative process, right? So we, hopped on the phone, we talked about the application. I kind of was like, hey, to the rest of the team members, is this interesting? And then we just kind of hopped on the phone with Frank, who's, I believe he's the node operations community manager, right? And we just
big shout out to Frank.
Yeah, Frank's the man.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to meet with Frank, definitely take it. He's a really cool guy.
Sure.
But I think that's really important that like we wanted to have the conversation, right? Like, how do we get to where this is something that we can, this is what we're going to build and this is how we get there and this is how it's going to be beneficial to the community. And we looped in Stephen Fluin, who's our head of the developer relations. He's like, this is how I think, based on my past experiences, how we should go and build something. So for those people who are watching that are saying, hey, I'd love a grant, I don't know what it is it would be for, apply and talk about your experience, the problems that you're looking to solve, your expertise and how you'd be able to solve them. And if there's meat to the bone, we'll figure something out that's beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, I can totally agree. Just go for it. Don't hesitate. Even if you might think, if you're hesitating or anything, just go for it. Send your application. You will get an answer. Brett is really communicative. I can confirm this, and the whole Chainlink team brings in a lot of expertise. I think there are some of the most talented people in the whole blockchain space. So go for it if you have the chance. Take it and enrich the whole ecosystem. It's just awesome.
Awesome. I think also this is a perfect segue to Tracy and this dot and your project, because much like the process of Roger's application, right, to getting to a project, the project that we're going to be working on together through the grant is going to be a living, breathing project that's collaborative between us and, again, Stephen and developer relations. So I'd love to learn maybe more about the project. And then, maybe we can, you guys are certainly experts in this, building developer communities, educating developers. So maybe you can give us some insights into your experience there as well.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I think this is really awesome. And we really love being a part of this because, one of the reasons why I even got into anything development is because I love building communities, and our entire team feels the same way, right? Like we have one of our pillars at our company is making the developer world a better place. And I love, what I'm hearing from, what Roger's doing, because, the project that we're actually going to be working on with this grant is creating this open source website that's going to host, all the important ecosystem resources in any developer community you look at. Education and, hey, where do I get started? Where do I go find this is the biggest problem. And there can never be enough education or information out there to provide people. So that's going to be really amazing. And I just love the idea of, again, creating something, and, so glad Chainlink is supporting this to make developing for this ecosystem a lot easier for everybody. And I think the amazing part of this as well is hopefully, we're still kind of trying to figure out, how much of the website content is curated, how much is curated by the community, et cetera, et cetera. But it is going to be a really great way for those who are producing content to have a place for people to find it. So I think generally it's just going to really uplift that system. in all the communities that I've been a part of in building, this again is always, it's always the same thing, right? You look at Angular, you look at React, you look at all these things. Sure, there's documentation. Sure, there's this place to go. But if we could create like the master place to go, I mean, that's always the vision, and that's always, I think the goal and the hope of any community, to be able to have something like that.
Awesome. And then again, Tracy, you have a lot of experience in terms of community building, education, training. This is something that's coming from a startup venture background, moving to kind of early stage open source startup, and then joining Chainlink Labs a few months ago, is I'm learning more and more about kind of the importance of documentation,
Yes.
but also like the strategic value of that education, right? So it's different to have a GitHub than it is to have, a developer expert program or training courses or actual real world examples where it's not just lines of code and a README, where it's walking you through how you actually build a DeFi app using price feeds, right? So I think there's a lot of like nuances in there. I was wondering if maybe you can talk a little bit in terms of, why is it important for us to focus on education, training, documentation, and how that relates to the community. And then I think that would also segue really well into maybe Roger commenting on that too, because he's been a part of that how do we figure it out journey in terms of learning how to fix broken things and stuff like that too.
Right, absolutely. Well, I'll give you a few examples. One example is React documentation, and in JavaScript, in React, they went from class components to hooks, and unfortunately, the React docs, and we're actually helping the team right now fix the React docs or update the React documentation. But right now, if you go to the React documentation, it tells you to use class components. It doesn't really talk about hooks as first. And that's actually not the case in reality. Most of the people who are learning React right now are, should be learning hooks and or are already learning hooks. So it's kind of confusing, right? And I think anything that's confusing that makes it difficult for developers to get started is, just not healthy, because people give up. I'll give you a great example. I was trying to figure out, a new way to deploy my website. And I was exploring all the new different options, thinking, hey, I should try something new, right? And I went to a bunch of the different sites, and I was exploring Netlify. And Netlify was so funny because I literally went through probably 3 steps and I had already deployed my site. Like, I didn't even know I was deploying my site. It's just that everything was so well set up that all of a sudden it was just done for me. And that was really powerful because obviously I just used Netlify because it was already done. So I think as we build more education within communities, it just makes it so much easier for people to say, hey, I can do this too. Hey, I can develop my first smart contract. Look how easy it was. And it really encourages people to start taking the next step into becoming more part of the community.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Roger, I'd be curious to hear maybe some of your comments or experiences around our community and the education process and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Chainlink developer community and community in general is awesome, is unique, and it's sharing community and economy. And when we first came up with our initial questions while spinning up Chainlink nodes, of course, the go-to point is the Discord server, the official Discord server, and the node operator channel, which is great, super helpful. There are many, many great people around who will always support you, always respond to your questions. But we also recognize, ironically, also in a call with you guys, Steven said, well, you have an example of an error log right here, copy paste it on Google and see if something comes up, and there was no search result. And this is something we really want to change. We want to make education accessible. We want to make all the knowledge and the experiences accessible through web browsers. Of course, I mean, we have Stack Overflow, which is great, but we want to create the go-to point for Chainlink node operators because, yeah, seeing the need for in a near future for hundreds and thousands of independently operating DONs and Chainlink hybrid smart contracts, we will need more and more Chainlink node operators to contribute to those DONs. And so we really want to lower the barrier of entry so that as many people as possible can just say, okay, I want to spin up Chainlink nodes. It sounds awesome. I know it's a lot of stuff to learn, but yeah, I can easily look up the missing pieces or facilitate troubleshooting by having great resources. And yeah, so I think it's way easier to look it up on a search engine, or go to the Discord channel, node operators Discord channel on Discord, ask the question, get linked to an existing website, and then maybe even make a proposal. Hey, look, guys, maybe there's something missing. How can we edit? And yeah, I think it's the most important thing to spread the word, to just motivate as many people as possible to learn. We recently saw the Chainlink Developer Bootcamp, which was a huge success with thousands of new people learning how to write smart contracts. And we want to achieve the same for node operators. We want to encourage everybody to spin up Chainlink nodes, although it might be a lot of stuff initially to learn, but it's not impossible. Everybody can do it. And yeah, we're happy to just contribute to this whole process and to make this whole unique ecosystem grow.
Awesome. We don't have a ton of time left, but Maury, any final thoughts around maybe kind of working with us? I know, like, one of the things I hear about you guys is how awesome your documentation is, right? And I think what's interesting in terms of the work that you do is there's known unknowns for every project that you do, right? So a lot of the process that you go through in terms of this integration work, you're educating us, right? You're poking holes in the beast and seeing what fails and doesn't work so that we can fix it and integrate.
Yeah, that's the basic idea of, I mean, if it's what we are trying to figure out is always how do we provide access to the technology, and maybe some documentation to you, so that you know, hey, let's see, this blockchain has this particular problem or this particular thing that you might be needing to be aware of. And also, I mean, with every integration, we always produce kind of a document which educates both us and some other developers who might not really be into Chainlink or into what we do, but serves as sort of a summary of what they can expect when they integrate with that particular blockchain. So I think that's a really valuable tool. And what I think personally that we really need to work on as a community is on documentation and making everything accessible. I agree with Roger and Tracy. Bringing more people in is a matter of giving them the tools and giving them the access to information that they need to start building their dreams and building what they can think of.
I think that's a perfect point, and I think to anyone watching, I think a lot of people think that they have to approach me in Discord or apply for a grant because they have the solution already and they're proposing that solution. But I think it's really interesting if you just, hey, there's this issue or this issue in documentation, or I'm trying to learn about this feature and I can't find an answer anywhere. That I want to know about, because that we want to fix, and that we want to find the right teams to fix that. So I think it's really important to note that if you have ideas around grants, to reach out as well. Unfortunately, I believe our time is up. So I just wanted to give a final thank you to Margaret and Maury from Protofire for joining and being an awesome integration partner. Roger from Link River, thank you for joining and being an awesome community member. And Tracy from This Dot, thank you for joining. And I'm super excited to kick off our project and start building some kick-ass resources for our developer community. So with that being said, if you want to apply for a grant, you can go to chain.link/community/grants or join our official Discord, and there is a grant channel in there that I am pretty active in. So feel free to reach out.
All you have to do is build it. I think that's a theme of the conference so far. As a quote from Sergey's keynote the first day, and we see that coming to fruition with many of our grant recipients and the other apps that we've seen.